Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the first book I ever reviewed on my book review blog, tosinsreviews.com. It's titled Managing People. It was a Harvard Business Review compilation of various materials on how to manage people. So I'm going to read most of the information out, and then I hope you all would appreciate the effort. Okay, so I came across this book at a time when staff issues was really frustrating, and I was at the airport going for a training, so my husband was in support of it. And even though it took me several months, I'm one of those that buys the books. I don't know when I'll read it, but it took me several months, and I finally did. It was definitely worth the wait and definitely worth reading about. So the book is about, like I said earlier, it's a compilation of 10 important articles on managing people in the workplace. It's directed at both young and experienced leaders with fresh insights on tackling age-old problems and new ways of looking at recurring challenges. For seasoned leaders, areas of interest would include fair process in engaging staff, leadership styles and training of new managers. How's this going to work? Because you guys are always going to keep thinking that I am looking at the screen, which I am, by the way. Alright, so like I said, for seasoned leaders, areas of interest would be fair processes in engaging staff, leadership styles, training new managers, avoiding bias, and of course, motivating employees. But for young leaders, areas of interest would be emotional intelligence, learning what great managers do, understanding how teams function, and very importantly, learning how to manage your boss. That was quite an interesting one. There are definitely articles that flow within two groups of managers or leaders. Maybe for those in the middle, you could just read all of it. My favorite articles were articles 1, 4, and 10. I would list the articles much later in the video, but articles 1, 4, and 10 because they were very expository, relevant, and quite interesting. My least favorite was article 8 because it was more philosophical. Let me just mention them now so that we don't get too lost. Article 8 is how unethical are you as a leader. Article 1 is leadership that gets results by Daniel Goleman. Article 4 is saving your rookie manager from themselves by Carol A. Walker. And Article 10 is managing your boss by John Gabaro and John P. Cotter. Learning points from this book. Learning points are always key for me because I feel like not everybody gets the chance to read a whole book, and some books are intimidating. So learning points for me are 1, it's an introduction to the world of emotional intelligence. It teaches newer ways to motivate staff, stopping the vicious cycle that managers create to try to help an employee who's seen or perceived to be performing below standard. You know, when you see someone's performing below standard, you complain and criticize them more, and they get even lower. Preparing new managers for the role ahead, shifting the focus from technical expertise to more of people management and delivering results through teams. Understanding the game of chess being played by great managers in managing people through identifying and capitalizing on their strengths, understanding the triggers that set them off their strength, and respecting their individual learning styles in coaching them. A very good example for that point was about a manager who was working in a departmental store, had this very he had a staff who he couldn't really place where she was good at, and then he decided to try her somewhere, and he felt that that was her strength. She was really good at it. And then some other manager came in, maybe while he was on leave or something, and tried to change her position. She became unproductive. So a key part of being able to manage people is to also understand their strengths. Even though sometimes they may not know their strengths, but understanding their strengths and aligning them or putting them in positions where those strengths are going to be appreciated. Learning how employees can be a part of management decision making through their involvement, management respecting them enough to explain the thoughts behind the decision and clearly explain their new responsibilities and performance standards. Also providing remedial action where the absence of fair process has become costly. So I read somewhere sometime this week about people explaining to their staff, that's leaders explaining to their staff the vision, the reason why things are being done or things are going to go the way they're going to go. Very importantly, to reduce sabotage. That's very important because most times when employees bring in ideas and you just say no, and they don't understand why you just said no. So, but if they understood the vision, they knew why you thought of, or why this wouldn't work at this time, it would be much easier for them to take the refusal or the fact that the ideas are not taken at the moment. So that's what that point was making. There's also the part of learning how to unlearn. That was interesting because the point was that professionals are used to being right all the time, which makes them poor students in learning when it involves their own performance. So being a professional takes a lot of improving yourself, career, this, that, and then at some point you are meant to learn in the workplace when you already feel like you're all that. This point is saying you may have to unlearn to be able to get the new knowledge. How to constantly remain objective as a business leader. That's another point. Eventually, leaders may end up with favorites, however coded or however nicely they quote it. But you should work at constantly remaining objective so that this does not affect your staff and everything you do. Learning what differentiates working groups from teams and how to get the best out of your team. A group is different from a team. That's what this article was talking about. A group is different from a team. We can have a group and not a team. A group can be formed just for a temporary purpose or just because they work in this place. They're a member of this group. But a team has a focus. They have a job. They have something they need to achieve, which is why that part of teamwork and everything comes together. And lastly, on the learning point is how employees manage their bosses, especially their bosses. That's you, of course. And it's not always political because everyone is ready to go like, oh, what do I need to do? Do I need to clean shoes? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? But it's not always political. Sometimes it's just understanding the way your boss thinks. It's just understanding, how you relate with some staff. You don't have to talk too much. They get you. That's because they understand. I have a boss that likes communication by email. So no matter how many times you call him on the phone to give him the updates and everything, he still wants to see it on email. So if you are the verbal type and you spend all your time talking, and you feel like it's double work for you to still send an email, you're not getting your boss. If your boss is the type that wants you to get an approval before you get something done, your spontaneity is not going to work him. It's not going to work for him. You will have to anticipate the amount of time the approval is going to be needed and work towards it. Those are areas in which employees can learn how to manage their bosses. And that's most of the lessons from managing people, the Harvard Business Review compilation. Like I mentioned earlier, I was going to mention the articles in there. Article 1 is Leadership That Gets Results by Daniel Goleman. 2 is One More Time, How Do You Motivate Employees by Frederick Hesberg. 3, The Setup to Fail Syndrome by Jean-Francois Manzoni and Jean-Louis Barsos. Saving Your Rookie Manager from Themselves, Carol A. Walker. 5, How Great Managers Do, Marcus Buckingham. 6, Fair Process, Managing the Knowledge Economy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mulberry. 7, Teaching Smart People to Learn by Chris Argyris. 8, How Unethical Are You by Marzarin R. Banerjee, Max H. Bazman, and Dolly Cho. 9, The Discipline of Teams by John R. Kazenbach and Douglas K. Smith. And 10, Managing Your Boss by John J. Gabaru and John P. Cotter. Now, my take on this book is that it's a great book to have on your shelf as a leader, as a boss, because it's something you have to keep going back to all the time. So I say it's a book for keeps. So as you move up the ladder from managing a handful of people to managing thousands of people to achieve your goals or the goals as a leader you have, you need to constantly go back to the book. Thanks for watching my first YouTube video. I didn't think it was going to be this long. I hope you enjoyed it.